Hello, good morning. Today we are going to look at some of the greatest papers in Ugandan history. That is 210/1. Very many of you know it as the African nationalism and the rise of new states. Now, when we talk about African nationalism, very many times learners fail. Oh, I forgot. Do not forget to subscribe to this page so that you can get more notifications and receive more lessons about African nationalism that will help you enhance your African nationalism knowledge and understand this paper getting an A grade in history. So, African nationalism, one can say, is as old as the African race. So it should be noted that as early as the 13th century, very many nationalists or nationalism broke up. People started getting nationalistic ideas and started to rise to fight all forms of colonial tendencies in the social, economic, and political spheres of life. Okay? So people started fighting colonialism that had come and taken away freedom of the African people. So one can define African nationalism as the total rejection of colonial rule and its manifestations in the political, social, and economic spheres of life. That one can define African nationalism that way. However, let's look at other people who defined African nationalism. For example, Professor Semakula Chiwanuka, I quote, a Ugandan writer, defined African nationalism as hostile feelings towards alien rule. Okay, what alien rule did he mean? The colonial rule, anything that is alien, anything that is foreign. He defined nationalism or African nationalism as rejection towards this alien rule. So we can look at other people. For example, in the wise words of Colin Lengum, I quote, he said, nationalism is a political force which promotes ideas of a nation and mobilizes the masses to support the ideas to make them into a reality. So Colin Lengum defined African nationalism in such a manner. Other scholars have also defined African nationalism as awareness on the part of Africans to belong to their nations, expressing loyalty to their nations, having pride, and desiring to free from any colonial manifestations. So, how do you define African nationalism where you are? So I want you to create your own definition, your own peculiar way of defining African nationalism. So colonialism, on the other hand, remember the Africans were fighting colonialism. Colonialism, on the other hand, goes in hand with imperialism. So the revolution to change all this started in Europe, whereby they decided to create a scramble and petition for Africa. So the Africans had to react and fight colonial rule. As we are ending our lesson today, let's look at some of the characteristics of African nationalism. We have looked at African nationalism as the rejection. Remember, the whites came as early as the 13th century, trying to take away our sovereignty as the African people, trying to take away our will as the African people, trying to take away our